And talking of entertainment, Karin Richards, we have waiting in our wings our first guest. And I have to thank you again because it's you who has brought our fabulous first guest to the table, as it were, or to the VegFest live chat today. A most esteemed entertainer. Karin, could you do the honours of just before we bring in our guest, could you just spend a minute telling us, everybody, how wonderful our guest is?
Well, you know, everybody that I talk to absolutely loves this brilliant voice for the animals, fantastic actor that I think he said to me that he's been acting for about 50 flipping years. You would never think of it at all because he looks so amazing. Peter Egan, he supports VegFest, he comes to VegFest, he campaigns for the animals. I met him and we went to a wet nose event because I'm an ambassador for Wet Nose Animal Aid, and people were queuing up to meet Peter Egan. He's utterly lovely, and I don't want to gush too much because he knows I'm a big fan of his. But yeah, lovely. I'm really excited to hang out with Peter on this Friday. Yay!
Hi, Jim. How are you?
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I can hear you. I can listen to that voice all day.
Thank you, Karin, for that wonderful introduction. That's very kind of you. It's actually, I'm sorry to say, it's 54 years, actually. So there you go. It was money well spent on my behalf for that introduction. Thank you.
Peter, you're a brilliant supporter and a fantastic voice for the animals.
Thank you.
And you know, you are very much loved before, I think, the animal campaigning, of course, and, you know, afterwards as well while you're doing it. I want to find out really what this means for you. And I know we've spoken about it before, but just really to kick it off, it's such a bizarre time at the moment. How are you and your family all getting on and coping?
Yeah, well, we're really getting on. It's been a remarkable period of time, and we have 5 rescue dogs, and they've been having the most wonderful time because I've never been at home so often.
Oh.
So they've fallen into a really wonderful sort of emotional pattern, which is they tell me when they want to go for a walk, or they tell me when they want a drink, or they tell me if they want something to eat. And it's been just fabulous. And it's been great to spend so much time with Myra, my missus. And for the first 13 weeks, we had our daughter Rebecca with us. She's now gone back to her own home with her son, who's a teenager, and who'd been with his dad for a period of time. And I'm lucky that, you know, we have a big garden, and I live quite close to, just next door to a wood. And so, you know, it's just a gift to be able to spend time enjoying and seeing life. I mean, I have been incredibly busy online with all of the, you know, the charities that I support. So my day has been really, you know, from the moment I get up until about now, it has been engaged with campaigning, really, and walking dogs and eating vegan food.
Oh, that's amazing. What was the turning point for you? And I know we're probably going to chat and we're going to see some slides coming up and everything, so I'm not sure about the time, but what was the turning point for you, Peter? What was that you thought, I need to be vegan?
You mean the turning point to becoming vegan, giving up eating flesh, you mean? Well, that was very positively, and now that I've been a vegan for certainly 6 years, but I gave up eating meat just over 10 years ago, and that was after watching that remarkable documentary, Earthlings. I watched it one morning, and Myra, my wife, came into the kitchen while I was watching it, and I was just in a state of shock. And she said, "What's the matter?" And I said, "I've just seen the most devastating documentary in my entire life." And I said, "Then I'm never, ever going to eat meat again." And I haven't. And I wasn't a big meat eater, but I would say that I would have, now it sounds like a big meat eater, because I would have eaten meat certainly 3 or 4 times a week. But what shocks me is how my cognizance was so absent in terms of relating what I was eating to where it was coming from. And we had been rescuing dogs for 15 years up until that point, and I adored animals, and I really deeply felt that I was a compassionate animal lover, but I didn't join up the dots between what I was eating and the animals I was eating, because I kind of believed all the guff, I suppose, or maybe subconsciously I didn't want to engage with it. But you know, you just get this sense. You see all these happy cows, you know, jumping around the field, and the smiling dairy cows who can't wait for you to have their milk, and all of that kind of that kind of advertising. If you don't feel that inclined to engage, or you're too busy, you believe that's what they're there for. So you don't until you see the pain, until you see the grotesque way that these wonderful creatures are slaughtered, if you see their lives, and certainly in intensive animal agriculture, the cruelty, the betrayal of all the 5 freedoms. I mean, once you kind of really, once that hits you there, then you have no choice. You know, you can't eat them. And then also, once I had watched that film, I suppose you have 4 of the dogs there. The blonde is Pippa, and the next one is Cassie, and the next one is Titus, and the one with the red collar is Boo.
Oh.
Titus is a street dog from Sarajevo that we rescued about 9 years ago, and Pippa was a dog that my wife saw on Facebook, and she looked absolutely terrified. And Myra said, "I think we should foster this dog." So I said, "Well, look, we've got 6 dogs at the moment. How many more are we going to have?" And I said, "Okay, we'll foster her." Well, she was in our house for 5 minutes, and I said, "We are no longer fostering this dog."
Oh.
And I fell in love with her anyway. And this is just wonderful, a great gift in my life. Another great gift. Ricky Gervais was brilliant, and of course the wonderful Tony Wilton. And this is Afterlife, which was just such a pleasure and an honor to be a part of it. And I was delighted that my great friend Ricky asked me if I would be in it, and mainly because he loved Ever Decreasing Circles.
Yeah.
And he wanted to put myself and the character of Anne together. Anyway, that kind of drew me off from my. I was getting terribly upset thinking about animals just then, so it's very good that there was this kind of diversity. Otherwise, I might not have been able to scream.
Oh, Peter, you're going to make me cry, and I've got my makeup on.
And you look lovely too, Karin. So don't. That in terms of transitioning into a plant-based diet, that's when it started. But I slowly, over a period of time, you know, I was still stuck with dairy and chocolate, cheese and chocolate, and all that. Now, I mean, after I haven't had cheese or chocolate for over 6 years, and cheese, the actual smell of cheese makes me feel ill. And there are so many wonderful vegan cheeses, and I just find the whole way of the plant-based diet is such a creative, interesting, and clean diet that I feel physically so much better. And here you've got Lola Webber, the young lady. You've got Rick Wakeman, the great Rick Wakeman, who I adore, and my wife Myra. That's in our garden, and I work a huge amount with Lola because she does so much work stopping the dog meat trade in South Korea. And she works with HSI on that, Humane Society International, and she has her own charity called Change for Animals Foundation, for which I'm a patron. There we are, the most wonderful Juliet. And she is, Juliet, I mean, such an inspiring founder of Viva, of course, and you know her better than I do. I think she's an amazing woman. We had lunch there. We just had finished lunch at a very, very good vegan restaurant just up in Marble Arch a couple of years ago. I just am so thrilled every day to follow the most creative and the most constructive lifestyle, which is a plant-based lifestyle. And what I was thinking today, actually, two things happened. A couple of days ago, I was in a queue at a supermarket, and a young lady, we were both wearing masks. This young lady came up and she just said, "Excuse me." She stood at a suitable distance. And she said, "Excuse me, you're Peter Egan, aren't you?" I said, "Yeah, yes, I am." And she said, "I just want to say thank you because you inspired me to become a vegan 3 years ago. And it's the best decision I've ever made." And she said, "Look at that wonderful donkey." See, this is what it's all about, isn't it? This is why you can't eat this beautiful. Look at that beautiful little cow there. I mean, just wonderful. How can anyone ever think about one being cruel to them and two eating them? Anyway, so I was so touched by this lovely young woman saying that I'd inspired her to be a vegan. It was the best choice she'd made, and she loved the lifestyle as indeed as I do. And today I was out getting some other stuff again, and I suddenly thought that when we had totally decided to go vegan, I went into a similar supermarket to the one that was in today, and I was asking one of the assistants about a certain product I was looking for. And it might have been that those two brothers who do that great, the stuff for the vegan range for Tesco. What are they called? What's the range called? It's
Bosch.
Not Bosch, no, the American guys, the tattooed American guys. Yeah, that's it, Wicked, yeah. Yeah, Wicked, sorry. I mean, I know them so well, and they produce such great food. Anyway, I was asking the assistant in Tesco, funny enough, about Wicked. And this, you just saw my wife, Myra, just go past her.
Hello, Myra.
Hello. This is Karin, and that's Pippa saying hello as well. Yeah. So I apologise to everyone. You'll soon get a lot of barking. And so I said to this woman, "Do you have the Wicked range?" And she said, "What is that? Is that a magazine, or is it, with some kind of something a bit hairy?" And I said, "Oh no. I said it's a plant-based vegan range." And she said, "Oh what?" I said, "A vegan range." And she said, "Are you a vegan?" And I said, "I am." She said, "Oh dear, I'm so sorry." I said, "What are you sorry about? You have to be sorry." She said, "Well, don't go down that road." She said, "What can you eat?" And the only reason I was reflecting on that today was back in a superstore, a food market, and here in front of me is the most amazing range of vegan food and choices. And I was just thinking in the last 3 years, how fast this, I mean, you know this better than I do, you've been at it for years, both of you, but how fast this lifestyle has moved. And I was standing there looking at something, and someone was choosing something. I said, "Have you tried that?" And they said, "Oh, no, I haven't." I said, "You should try that." I said, "Are you a vegan?" And they said, "Yes, yeah, I am a vegan." And I said, "How long have you been a vegan?" And they said, "A year." And I thought, this is the most wonderful thing to do when you're out shopping, because 4 years ago, you say that to someone, and they go, "Oh dear, no, don't do that." But now people say, "Yeah, it's great, I love it." And it is, I mean, it is just the most exciting, delicious, compassionate and creative way of living than I can imagine. And I've said it often before, my one and only regret is that I didn't do it 50 years sooner. But then,
that's what every vegan says ever. Everybody says, "Why didn't I just do it sooner?" It's the best decision you will ever make.
Indeed. But of course, you guys did it when it was really hard.
No, for me, Peter, it's never been hard. If you want fast food, eat a flipping banana. You know, okay, we couldn't buy a sandwich, make your own. It's not rocket science. So, over 25 years, it's never, ever been a problem.
Is it not?
I'm not feeling that wealthy, it's beans on toast. If I am feeling wealthy, then it's my organic greens and feeling good.
But if you think of the amount of fast food available now. And if you think about, I mean, was there a great mayonnaise 25 years ago?
Yes, from Planil.
Really? Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we had 25 years ago, and Tim will agree, we had, you know, there was a vegan Viennetta, you know, that ice cream. There was loads of different ice cream flavors. There was dairy-free milk. There was cheese, you know, but there wasn't as many, but that didn't matter because, you know, you were supporting that small business.
Yes.
And so what if you went to the local health store? I was really happy supporting that. You being phoned, is that your agent?
You know what the game changer was?
It's gone now. I was about to say sorry about the phone.
The game changer in the 80s was...
Say again. Say, Tim, what did you say?
The game changer in the 80s was hummus. You could get hummus just about everywhere. So if you forgot...
That was amazing. Well, the whole
you were in London, and he was like, you know, I lived in London in the 80s at times, and I remember, like, you know, 2 o'clock in the morning, it'd be like, oh yeah, go get yourself a hummus kebab from the local kebab shop, and hummus was the game changer because we all love hummus. I've never met a vegan that doesn't like hummus. Yeah, in fact, I should be elaborating about the wonders of hummus at Press Morocco in a week's time online, because hummus is something I think, you know. So we, you know, when you've got things like hummus, it's like, no, I never remember it being very hard going vegan.
Yeah, well, that's great.
But
I do remember, if I could just say quickly, in terms of contradicting myself, when I was a kid in the 50s, about 1958, I was in North London, and there used to be a small, like a hole in the wall, called the Two Brothers on the Finchley Road. And they were Greek Cypriots, and they used to do those magnificent falafels with all that.
Nice.
That was the first, and now I'm just thinking about it, that was the first vegan meal I think I ever had. And I remember thinking that was delicious. So that should have actually given me a clue 50 years ago, shouldn't it?
Oh. So what
Karin, before we go on, because you know what, we've been chatting for a while, and we've got Juliet waiting in the wings for us. So I want to go too long, but before we go to Peter, I did want to just ask you about that. You touched on something there about, you know, vegan. You've got the so many different cultures there. You're seeing that veganism go global, and just in a very short minute or so, do you think, what do you see? Do you see there's any barriers, or do you see this vegan thing really going global? Do you think anything's going to hold it back?
I do think that fear of losing the status quo is going to hold it back for a bit. Also, because there is so much money invested in animal agriculture. It is a $1 trillion a year business. Nobody's going to give that up easily. And if you think it's a bit like Donald Trump, he's not going to give up being the president of the White House. He's going to say it's all a hope. So I do think, I think one of the hardest things that we have to deal with in life is changing the status quo, because people are frightened of losing what makes them comfortable. And I find this is a problem all the time when I'm dealing with animal rights / animal welfare issues. That's another one of my dogs agreeing with me. That getting people just to change the way they look at things is quite hard. But I think there is an exponential growth in veganism at the moment, which is powerful. It's like a tsunami. And I think that if we were around in 50 years' time, we would say, you know what they used to eat 50 years ago? It's unbelievable. I mean, when I hope our planet is healed, and when we have renewed the health of our planet, as well as the health of the people who live on it, I think that people will look back, certainly to around this hour, as a shocking period of time.
Well, there you go, Peter. That's a very inspirational hope, and it's one I share. And I think you're right. I think the fact that you mentioned that as the prime opposition, I don't think there's a mystery to it. It's the multi-trillion-dollar industry behind this, and that's the work we've got to do.
And also the fact that when someone else, not me, said once the big companies realized that there was a money market for veganism, they all thought, yeah, let's get in. And that's happened as well, and I salute that. But, you know, it's not just happening because of faith and belief. It's happening because it makes economic sense. And also the people, when they do really...
Let's push it through. So thank you ever so much for all the work you do. You know, like there are a lot of people who love to hear you. We could quite happily have you back. And I think, Karin, you're inviting Peter back for another go. Perhaps it's Summerfest even. I'm not sure about that. So hopefully we will have you attending soon again, Peter. But honestly, we are...
Anytime. It's great talking to you. Lots of love to Karin and to you, Tim. And do give my love. Thank you back.
Love you, Peter. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye. Oh, I just love Peter Egan, don't you? He's so fantastic.
He really is. He's very articulate, and I like the you know, the transition there. There's an honesty too, because Peter's come to veganism a bit later in life. He's got this whole wealth of experience, and then, you know, last 5-6 years gone vegan, and now there's this clarity. I love it. I'm very grateful. Thank you, Peter. Thank you very much for coming on. And listeners, I do hope you've enjoyed our guest. And of course, our guests just come on for free. They come on, they give up some time, and we're very grateful.